All right, Mark, go ahead and push it out to everybody. Go live.
Okay, we have the one-on-one.
Mike, do we stay unmute?
You're welcome to whatever is convenient for you.
It's 10 o'clock.
All right. Hey, Mark. I think we're making the last push out. Okay, I'm getting signals from my associate. YouTube is live, and Zoom is live. So it looks like we're live. Go ahead.
Good morning or good afternoon for people on the East Coast. Welcome to the Town Hall on COVID-19 resources hosted by Penalists Association. Good day to all. My name is Derrick Nguyen, or Nguyen in the Vietnamese community. I am so excited to be the moderator for this town hall. I understand that we are streaming live to 900,000 people for this very informative town hall. And I'm also very honored to be hosting a very distinguished panel of accomplished individuals, both from the public and private sectors, as well as business and nonprofits. Let me take a quick minute to introduce to you all of our accomplished panelists. First, U.S. Congressman Harley Rouda. The Honorable Rouda represents California's 48th Congressional District, which includes the Orange County cities of Costa Mesa, Fountain Valley, Garden Grove, Midway City, Santa Ana, and Westminster. He was elected to office in 2018. He's a lawyer, realtor, technology entrepreneur, and philanthropist. Welcome, Senator. Welcome, Congressman. Next is California State Senator Tom Umberg. The Honorable Tom Umberg represents California's 34th Senate District, which includes Orange County cities of Anaheim, Fountain Valley, Garden Grove, Huntington Beach, Midway City, Santa Ana, and Westminster. And he was most recently elected to office in 2018, but has had a long and distinguished career as a colonel in the United States Army and in the California State Assembly. Senator. We also have Faith Bautista. She's the president and CEO of the National Asian American Coalition, a HUD-approved home counseling agency and the nation's leading Asian American nonprofit, advocating against foreclosure, advocating for greater economic and small business development, and in advancing the growing economic and social power of Asian Americans. Faith also serves as the president and CEO of National Diversity Coalition, a nonprofit advocacy organization comprised of community organizers, faith-based leaders, and business owners. Welcome, Faith. And Hang Harper, CPA. Hang began her career as an accountant in 2001 and is now a principal at Harper and Harper CPA. Hang earned a bachelor's degree from Cal State Fullerton and became a certified public accountant in 2003. In 2013, Hang was among the 57 women honored by State Senator Lou Carrier as one of the women making a difference in Orange County. She's currently the planning commissioner of Orange County under the chair supervisor, Michelle Steele. And last but not least, the organizer of today's event, Mike Vo. Attorney Mike Vo is a co-founder and board chair of the nonprofit Penalists Association and is the partner of the law offices of Mike and Vo, a sponsor of today's town hall. For over 19 years, Mike has represented small business owners, many who own beauty salons, beauty supplies, and manufacturing. Mike grew up in the fingernail industry and has devoted a large portion of his law practice and free time to help salon professionals. Thank you, Mike. Let's begin with Mike Vo, the sponsor and also the host of today's event, to give us a brief description of the purposes and the goals of today's.
Great, thank you, Derrick. Welcome everyone for joining us, and thank you. My name is Mike Vo. I am the co-founder and board chair of the Southern California-based nonprofit Pro Nails Association. The PNA works to educate and advocate on behalf of beauty salons, manicurists, beauty supplies, and manufacturers in this industry. As you're probably aware, with COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders, that has effectively shut down the entire beauty, if not fingernail industry as well. We're getting calls and questions from salon owners, from manicurists on, what can I do to survive this? And being that 80% of the nail salon industry is comprised of Vietnamese Americans, the PNA thought that now was the appropriate time to put together a town hall and deliver valuable information from our respected leaders and organizations on how to help you get through COVID-19. For today, we have an all-star lineup, as our moderator, Derrick, has mentioned to you. I do want to give a special thanks to Congressman Rouda and State Senator Tom Umberg, Faith Bautista, and Harper for helping me today in delivering this information to you. And I also give a special thanks to Derrick for agreeing to moderate. Really appreciate your time on this. Now, due to the packed schedule we have on calendar, I'll go ahead and turn this over to you, Derrick.
Great. Let's begin with our presentation from the panelists. I would like to first invite U.S. Congressman Harley Rouda. Please, sir.
Thank you, Derrick, and thank you, Mike, for bringing us together with Pro Nails to address the issues that you talked about. We recognize that, especially here in Southern California, that these salons have been incredibly hard hit, a complete shutdown of their businesses, and having to navigate through that process and the challenges it provides. We know this is a vibrant industry, and we are committed to making sure that we work with you and the businesses that you represent and navigating through this to make sure that we not only survive, but are able to thrive on the other side. Let me talk a little bit about what Congress has done so far, and then we'll also talk a little bit about what needs to be done. Congress has passed 3 major pieces of legislation in addressing the pandemic. The most recent legislation is called the CARES Act. It being the 3rd one in addressing the coronavirus, we also call it C3. C3, the CARES Act, has several major provisions in it that are important for our discussion today. First and foremost is the Paycheck Protection Program, which provides small businesses the ability to apply for loans through the SBA, that if certain things are met, they can actually go from a loan to a grant, a forgivable loan. And we can talk more about the details of that later. Second is the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Assistance. That is a one-time payment to help out these businesses that need an immediate cash infusion. The CARES Act also provides direct cash assistance in the form of one-time payments. Most working families, such as a married couple with 2 dependents, would get $3,400 if their combined income is below $150,000. There's some other machinations or other things that impact how that's paid, which we can talk about, but we'll save that for the broader conversation. The CARES Act also includes, and this is really important, $260 billion in enhanced unemployment insurance benefits. And this is really important. The Democratic leadership fought hard to have this added to the CARES Act. The original legislation being proposed did not include enhanced unemployment insurance. And by adding this $260 billion, we also included non-traditional workers. Historically, unemployment insurance has been there for hourly workers and salaried workers, but we expanded it to include gig workers, commission compensated workers, and independent contractors. And as you can see, like all of you, I am at home with dogs barking, and I apologize for that, but that's the reality of where we are today. The legislation also includes $30 billion in emergency education funding, in addition to pausing student loan payments. And right now we're working on phase 4 and working with my colleagues across the aisle to fill in some gaps that are clearly there that we missed in the CARES Act, and also expanding to protect some groups that also fell through the cracks. I know there's a lot of questions about the specifics of these programs. Hopefully we'll be able to get to those answers here shortly. And with that, I will pass it back to Derrick. Thank you, Derrick.
Thank you, Congressman. If I have not mentioned to the viewers before, I would like to say it now. I have seen already a few questions from the viewers, but we will hold off these questions until the Q&A session. After the panelists' presentation, we have a lot of interesting topics to discuss, and maybe some of these questions would have been answered through the presentation session. Again, thank you, Congressman. We'll be back with you for the question and answer session. Now I'd like to go to Senator Tom Umberg. He has a very presence in the community. I've worked with his staff, wonderful staff, Christy Lee and Nguyen Tran, for years, and they have advocated the senator's office and policies very well. Senator, could you please explain to the viewers the programs that the state has enacted, implemented to protect the people in this dire times?
Well, thank you, Derrick. First, a few thank yous. Thank you, Derrick, for your organization, and Mike Vo for putting this together. Really important opportunity to provide information to the community. Special shout out and special thank you to Congressman Harley Rouda. I've witnessed Congressman Rouda working so hard in the Vietnamese American community to make sure that the effects of this crisis are mitigated as best can be done by the federal government and by our local governments. And I know I've witnessed him working 20 hours a day. So thank you, Congressman Rouda. Also, what I wanted to do is let me outline a few areas, and then as was mentioned, we can come back during the question and answer period to perhaps give more details. A shout out before we begin also to the various nail salons and organizations, particularly here in Orange County. I know, for example, that Advanced Beauty College in Tam Nguyen, he's been recognized as one of our heroes for his efforts. I know he's suffering like many are suffering, but he has decided that he's going to make a contribution to the community by, for example, contributing face masks, which are so important and so direly needed right now to protect all of us. So special shout out to all of those nail salons who are doing whatever they can to step up to the plate during this crisis. A couple things. One is, I know one issue right now is rent, whether you can pay your rent. If you're closed down, that's obviously very difficult. Right now, there's a 90-day basically pause, but what folks should be aware of, it doesn't mean that you're excused from paying rent. It simply means that the courts aren't open to issue summonses to summon you into court, for example, to evict you from your property. If you cannot pay your rent, you need to talk to your landlord immediately to see what kind of relief your landlord will provide. And if your landlord can't or won't provide relief, then you need to make sure that you don't just simply ignore the situation. You've got a 90-day period basically to figure out what you're going to do. It doesn't relieve you from your rent obligation. Taxes, as will be mentioned, there is a delay in taxes. In other words, you've got until July 15 as opposed to April 15, which was just past day, to pay your taxes, both your estimated taxes as well as your 2019 tax return. Property taxes were due on April the 10th here in Orange County. That's another area that is confusing for many people. We're working right now, I know Congressman Rouda is working on this as well. We're working right now to see how the treasurer tax collector here in Orange County can provide some relief for those who owe property taxes. Right now, you still owe your property taxes, and they were due on April the 10th. If you have an economic hardship or some other hardship caused by COVID-19, you may be able to apply, you can apply, in fact, to have the penalties canceled, but the base amount of the rent is still due, and we're working to see if we can't somehow provide for some sort of mitigation on that front. So I'll close, and once again, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Derrick, for putting this together.
Thank you, Senator. We'll be back with you in a minute or so. Let's go to Faith Bautista. Faith is heading a few nonprofit coalitions which emphasize the need for helping businesses and individuals. Faith, please.
Thank you, Derrick. Well, I know right after the shelter in place, I'm heading to the fastest nail salon I can go to. My nails are just chipping. It's been 3 weeks. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I'm the president of the National Diversity Coalition and National Asian American Coalition. We're HUD-approved counseling agency. And sadly, and I'll speak also on the SBA since Mr. Raju is not here. As of yesterday, at yesterday PM, US, they approved 1.4 million loans. That's $315 billion worth of loans. California got 54,922,000 got approved on PPP, and that's worth $20.8 billion. And I know a lot of perhaps the 30,000 salon operators are not in that 54,000 in California. So overall, there are still 700,000 small businesses application right now are in limbo. So, you know, we're in a World War III that we cannot see the enemy. What the organization is trying to do as a iBank guarantee, we are encouraging the micro lenders, the small business lenders, to go to your nearest CDFI, that's a community development financial institution. They're the one that can give you microloans. NAAC offers a little bit of micro lending up to $50,000, but there's a lot of CDFI out there. So there's a financial development corporation. There are 7 of them in California. There's one here in San Diego, the Small Business Development Corporation of Orange County, headed by Mike Ocasio. And he has a lot of lenders that small businesses can go to for micro lending. Credit unions also are doing that. So if you don't be frustrated, because you can imagine SBA have done $50 billion of loans a year, right? And all of a sudden they're on the $350 billion. There's probably 6,000 lenders that are processing PPP right now. And on EIDL, Congressman Rouda, thank you so much for working with everyone there. I really have to thank our government officials. I'm just really proud that everybody's working together to help the community, especially the people of color. And this kind of outreach that we're doing, this is so important because these are the hard to reach people. Mike said that there are 60,000 manicurists just in Southern California alone. And I can almost guarantee they're lucky if there's 10% of them are having access on this PPP. But we're here to put this together, right? National Asian American Coalition, among other of micro lender borrowers, are there to help you. Don't be so frustrated, even on the banks. As you know, big banks, they're maxed out of money. I know community banks, and I'm on the advisory board for community development financial institutions in Washington, D.C. So I work closely with a lot of them. And as much as they want to help, banks right now, they're understaffed in helping small businesses. All the calls that they're getting, I know they're working round the clock trying to help small businesses. And for us, also the borrowers, because we're HUD-approved counseling agency, I mean, we're inundated with calls right now because of the foreclosure, right? So be mindful that even though you see that there's going to be a forbearance, you still have to pay that. You know, there's no free lunch. We all know that they're still gonna catch on you. So for those that can afford to pay. And that way, the one that really needed help, the government, the institutions can help them. So, you know, we're here to answer all the questions, and go to naac.org. We can help you. Our counselors are ready to help you. Again, just be patient. And I'm sure you know, Derrick and Mike, you're gonna put all our information so for other resources. And just quick few things. All the agencies right now, from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau agency, from FCC, that you're getting all this all the robocalls, all this fraud. Please be mindful of that. Beware. Sometimes it's our own people that screw us, right? I mean, we know that. So be so mindful. There's all the agencies, the CFPB, the Federal Reserve, and even you know, Senator Tom Umberg's, of course, offices, Congressman Rouda. Anything that you see right now, we have to police each other. So let's help each other. This is the time that we cannot blame anybody. And if we can just do what we need to do, and please stay home and be safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Faith, for the update information. We'll come back with you with the specific questions later on. And along the same line, I would like to announce that we have about 90,000 people from around the world watching this right now through various means. We would also like to acknowledge the the participation of different various media outlets, including Formosa TV, Hon Viet TV, SET TV, Vietface TV, CBN TV, Viet Bao, Saigon Yaw News, the Nell Tip Show, and Daimia Vietnam 106.3 FM, and also from the Heart Leadership podcast from Castle Fullerton. Thank you.
Well, we're instant celebrity now, huh? 90,000.
I guess so. And I hope that you will be continuing to be the celebrity with the information that we are providing to the viewers. Next, let's go to Harper, the CPA for the tax information.
Hi, I'm Harper. I'm the one of the owner of Harper's here in Fountain Valley. The other Harper is my husband. I'd like to do a special shout out for Nguyen, who is the owner of Advanced Beauty College. He's the one who connected me and most of and Mike and Derrick and everybody else for this call. And thank you so much for doing all the community service. They're not only providing a mask, gloves, food. Now he was telling me that they target, now he helping out nursing homes and homeless shelters. So thank you for that. And besides, it's great to see everybody coming together, spreading the kindness instead of, you know, COVID-19. And a special shout out for people that we didn't acknowledge before. We got acknowledged from the federal level, the state level. I'd like to have a shout out for the county level and city level as well. I know Chair Supervisor Michelle still been working very hard on trying to get the property tax sort of deferred, and trying to get the EB-5, which involve a lot with nail salon owners, try to have that one defer as well. So do some help, and then just everybody else, individual as well, everybody coming in as a community. So we will get through this and we'll become a better community. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Vo, last but not least, the soul and the spirit of today's event.
Great, thank you, Derrick. So I want to cover some of the things that Senator Umberg just touched on earlier. I was asked to discuss lease issues, labor and employment issues, and maybe some post-COVID-19, what are salons going to look like? So with respect to some of the lease issues, for a lot of you who are salon owners, you have a lease agreement with the landlord. Yes, there is a moratorium or a stop on eviction lawsuits right now. That will expire. But before you get to the point where you're worried about, am I going to get evicted? I do echo what the senator said. Open a dialogue with your landlord. Talk to the landlord, call them, email, write, whatever method you choose. Just open that dialogue, because just like yourselves, many of these landlords are also having mortgage payments to make on their buildings. So we want to help each other during this time period. I do encourage salon owners, when you have this dialogue with the landlord, document it, right? If you're going to email, if you're going to have a phone call, maybe follow up that phone call with an email, because later on, if there is an eviction lawsuit, you want to have these documents available. You want to show that you made a good faith effort to try to figure out, what can we do, right? We're all in this COVID-19 environment together. So I encourage everyone, document your communications. Second, what if you just can't survive COVID-19 and you want to walk away, right? And there's a lawsuit. What could happen? Well, if there is a personal guarantee that you signed for that space, you are personally on the hook for the amounts of rent that would have been paid through the end of the lease term, right? It could be your nail salon corporation or your limited liability company. It could also be you individually if you signed a personal guarantee. That's why I want to encourage all salon owners and even landlords who are watching this, open that dialogue, because at the end of the day, we all need each other. The landlords need the tenants need the landlords, and so forth. If you are having challenges communicating with landlords, especially for our Vietnamese speaking only guests, if you're having challenges communicating, at the end of today's show, there's going to be a slide with resources and referral agencies that you can connect with. Many of those agencies have someone on staff or know someone who can assist you with that communication between the salon owner and the landlord. And also, I just want to let everyone know that today's session is being recorded. So we will have it available on our Pro Nail Association website and Facebook page after this. So you don't have to write a ton of notes right now. Maybe now just really listen and try to get as much information as you can, and then rewatch it and watch our slides. The next topic I want to discuss are labor and employment issues, right? Many of the salons, if not all the salons that I know, they've now shut down, pursuant to state, county orders. So there's an issue. Well, what do I do with my manicurists, right? If they're employees, do I lay them off or are they terminated? That is up to you as a salon owner, employer, what you want to do. If you're in a position to continue to hold on to them, that's great. If you're saying, look, I just don't have the financial resources, and you lay them off, that's what you have to do. You want to document that as well. That way it's easier for the workers to go file for state unemployment benefits, saying that, they were laid off because of the COVID-19 situation. Also, in terms of my practice, I tell all employers, document, right? You never know what's going to happen. So if you're going to lay off, make sure you have some documentation of that. Now, there may be questions, salon owners and even employees, manicures that you have. What if I get COVID, or I have to take care of someone who has COVID and I cannot work? What are the options at that point? Well, back in March 18th of this year, Congress passed the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That law applies to all employers with less than 500 employees, and it's in force till the end of this year. What it would do is, if you have a worker who's still employed and they either have a COVID, they themselves have COVID, or they know somebody that have to take care of that person, it qualifies them for paid sick leave, okay? And the way the paid sick leave is, it is a grant. It is not something that has to be accrued. If they're a full-time employee, they will get 80 hours of paid sick leave. If they're a part-time employee, they're eligible for paid sick leave equivalent to the average numbers of hours worked over a 2-week period. All right. And for employers and both workers, keep in mind the federal paid sick leave is in addition to any statutory paid sick leave. The other aspect of the FFCRA is that employers, you need to post a notice of the expanded sick leave. So as soon as the salon is open, stay-at-home orders are lifted, make sure that you get a copy of these new notices. Contact the P&A or any of our referral agencies that we're going to put on the slide at the end of the show. Other questions related to COVID. What if my worker gets COVID and now they're not working? Are they entitled to workers' comp benefits, right? That's something that I haven't personally had experience with it with any of my clients, but if it's a situation where the worker has a doctor's note or can't work for more than 3 days or is hospital overnight, there is a possibility that they could be entitled to temporary disability benefits, right? So again, salon workers, manicurists, reach out to your professionals if that is the situation. And then to briefly touch on a topic that I think is going to be important to many workers is unemployment benefits, right? If you are a W-2 employee, you've paid into the unemployment benefits program, you will be qualified for the state unemployment benefits. Now, I do know that many of us in the nail salon industry, historically, many manicurists have not been categorized or classified as W-2 manicurists. You're a 1099 independent contractor. That does pose a challenge because under at least California state law, you haven't paid to the system, you're not going to get state unemployment. However, as alluded to earlier by Senator Umberg, and I believe Congressman Rouda, is that there are now federal unemployment benefits that are also available. These federal unemployment benefits for W-2 workers, it's an additional $600. And then for 1099 self-employed independent contractors, you may also be eligible for these federal unemployment benefits. Okay. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on is what is the salon going to look like post-COVID, right? We open up, the stay-at-home orders are lifted. What does it look like? Some questions that you may be having in your mind is, what if manicurists don't want to go back to work? They're scared, right? What do I do? Well, if they're employees, under the law, if they don't come back after 3 days, it's considered an abandonment of their position, right? Could be terminated. I mean, essentially their relationship is terminated. But keep in mind, everybody, in this COVID-19 environment, be sensitive, right? If someone's concerned about their health and safety, their family, their kids, whatnot, they're not ready to go back, right? It's not time to just be terminating employees. That's probably not the right approach. Now, what if your worker, your manicurist, is an independent contractor, right? Well, if they're an independent contractor, and the true definition of that, and as a booth renter, you cannot force them to come back to work, right? You don't have that authority, right? So I don't recommend you force an independent contractor to come back because that can expose you to a lot of other issues. One of the questions I'm hearing is also, at least with respect to California-based salons and manicurists, what happens with AB 5, now California Labor Code section 2750.3, the distinction between an independent contractor and an employee. For all salon professionals, keep in mind, Labor Code 2750.3 still applies. It applied at the beginning of the year, before COVID, during COVID, after COVID. It doesn't stop implementation or enforcement just because of what we have going on. So for those of you who want to learn more about the AB5 issues, the Pro Nail Association, we did prior seminars on this issue, and that's going to be that's also available on our website, so you can watch that, and we'll do subsequent follow-ups. And then what we're trying to do here at the Pro Nail Association is put together a second town hall, looking more at the post-COVID situations for salons. And we're going to be reaching out to the California State Board of Cosmetology to ask them to participate and give some insights and what they foresee as requirements for the salon industry after this is all over. And hopefully, Senator Umberg, if you're available, it'd be great to have you join us for that conversation as well. I know there's a lot of complex issues that I briefly went over. If you have questions, again, there's a resource slide at the end of the town hall. Contact those organizations, contact the P&A. If you need to have a conversation with my law office, contact my law office. So with that, Derrick, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mike, for that comprehensive presentation. And I know that this event, this town hall, is very, very supported by the nail industry. I'm told that this event is being live streamed by Vietnail TV and also by Nail Poetry Facebook Forum. Nail Poetry Facebook Forum has 268,000 members. So thank you, all the media and all different organizations for disseminating this information. We're doing very good on the timing. We have about 25 minutes left with the questions for the panelists. And I have received a few questions so far. I'd like to begin the question answer session with Congressman Harley Rouda. Sir, we talk about the CARES Act, and mainly we're concerned about the EIDL and the PPP loans, which could become grants. What are the differences between these two loans, EIDL and PPP?
Well, the first one's an emergency disaster loan with a cap, I believe, of $10,000. And certainly that's the right way to go for some businesses. The other one, the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Plan, I think it's important to look at that and then also understand what Mike was talking about with the unemployment insurance available for your employees. They're mutually exclusive to some degree. You want to go one path or the other. If you want to apply for a PPP loan through an SBA lender, this applies to companies with 500 or less employees. Basically, the math is that you look at your annual payroll, you divide it by 12, and then you multiply it times 2.5. That is the loan amount, with a cap of 10 million being the max, which most companies won't bump up against. So that's the loan amount. That loan can become forgivable if you do a few things. One, you must use 75% at least of that loan amount for payroll. You must use the remaining 25% or less for other approved expenses, such as utilities or rent payment. And you must maintain your full-time employee headcount. If you do that over the 8 weeks after getting the loan through a certain date, then you have the ability to write that loan off, or actually turns into a grant that you don't have to pay it back. In the event you don't meet all the criteria and it does not become forgivable, but stays as a loan, that loan will have a 2-year maturity and carry a 1% interest rate. So I would encourage everyone on this call, they need to look at that possibility versus furloughing or laying off employees to take advantage of the unemployment insurance that's been greatly enhanced by the federal government. Each company is going to have to make a decision as to which way is better to go. And I would really, really encourage everyone, make that decision with your tax advisor or your business advisor, because they can help you understand which of these programs, which of these benefits are best for you and your company and your employees.
Thank you, Congressman.
Can I add more to that, please, if you don't mind?
Yes, please, Faith.
Yeah, so when Congressman Rouda talked about the cash assistance, I just want to tell everyone that you don't have to do anything as long as you have your bank account. IRS will deposit directly either the $1,200 or the $3,400. And for the EIDL, unfortunately, that money is gone. So for those that got the number from SBA, You don't have to do anything either. That money will go to you, and that's the $10,000. For the PPP, that money is also gone. And I know, Congressman, they're working more for the second phase of that money. And as soon as they agree, that money will be released. And in addition, Governor Newsom have a $50 million towards the disaster relief program. That's the one that the CDFI, the CDE can access to that money. And this is what I was saying. You can borrow that money with very, very little interest, I think, or less than 3% interest. And there's not a lot of, qualifying. Basically, if you're not approved with PPP, you can go to that disaster relief program. And, Senator Umberg, thank you for doing that disaster relief program.
Faith,
Derrick?
thank you, but stay on the line. Yes, please. I have a question specifically for you, Faith. Do you offer any microloans, especially for small businesses? This is what is needed right now. Do you offer anything?
Yes, we do. But, as a nonprofit, we don't have a lot, but you can apply right now. I'm trying to work with other banks to part of their CRA. They get credit for investing on community development financial institutions. So you can go to naac.org for, we have a loan up to $50,000, but because there's so much in demand, the minute we put out our press release last night, this morning, I have so many calls and emails, and most likely we're gonna give only below $25,000. So go to naac.org, the micro lending application is there. And if we cannot do it, we will be happy to refer you to other micro lender borrowers throughout the state.
Thank you. The next question is for Senator Umberg. We talk about the different loans programs, but right now it seems like the money is not readily available. What do I do if I can't pay rent?
So, Derrick, a couple of things. I think that Faith and Hang and Mike have illustrated two things. One, they've illustrated that there are opportunities for relief, and two, that it's complicated. So to underline what Congressman Rouda said, before any business owner decides to terminate, lay off, furlough an employee, they need to talk to a professional. Their tax advisor, their accountant, their lawyer, someone, or a nonprofit, as in Faith, to talk about what they should do to make sure that they don't preclude themselves, they don't put themselves in a position where they're not eligible for some of these opportunities because of decisions they've made already. So that's number one. Number two is, Derrick, your question was as to folks who can't access these opportunities and what they should do right now. Well, as was mentioned a moment ago, is that there is a fourth stimulus package that is currently being negotiated. I understand that the negotiators are getting closer and closer. And so people should not lose faith. They shouldn't lose faith with respect to, for example, the business loans. Certainly, they shouldn't lose faith applying for unemployment. The Employment Development Department, known as EDD, is overwhelmed right now. They're going to be expanding hours. They're going to be expanding both hours of operation and also hours where they're calculating benefits. So folks should be able to get their benefits within about 21 days of their application being accepted. If you're an independent contractor, that puts you in a unique position now in terms of unemployment. There is a program and the website is not up. It will be up in the next 13 days or so. So if you're an independent contractor, you can apply for what would be some relief that is roughly similar to unemployment insurance.
We talk about the unemployment benefit. Senator, can we apply for unemployment benefit and the EIDL and PPP loans at the same time? Some people have applied for these two loans and have not heard from the SBA, from the government yet. and they have no access to the money just yet. So can they apply for unemployment now?
There are, again, you should talk to your tax advisor. There are different programs where there's mutually exclusiveness. In other words, where if you're a business owner, you can't also be an employee at the same time. So, and perhaps Mike Vo may be able to answer that question, but it's challenging to give legal advice or tax advice without knowing the particulars of the situation.
Okay, let's go to Mike Vo. Have you had any situation where the clients also apply for unemployment and these two loans at the same time?
I personally haven't had any clients ask me that question, but based upon my client experiences, most of my clients, they're self-employed. So they're just taking distributions out of their company. In that case, they're not going to be qualified for the state unemployment benefits. So I would recommend they apply for one of the other loans.
Since we have you, go ahead, Hank, please.
Chairman, a little bit too, because a lot of independent contractor, mostly like salon, nail salon owners too, they used to do the best way is to do the PPP. Well, right now they all tapped out, but that was my client was doing, applying for the PPP and trying to get the EIDL advanced loan as well. And like the senators said, there may be, and Mike also said, there's also be a maybe the federal unemployment that they can apply now that everything's tapped out. But other than that, yeah. So we're just hoping the SB, the federal, the Congress could go ahead and approve more loan for small businesses.
Derrick, just on a positive note, I just want to give an example, like NAAC, we got approved for PPP, and it was easy process. Well, it's not easy process because they change the form every hour, every day. There's new forms. So like I said, really be patient. You got to put a whole staff putting that application, because you got to be, you know, I mean, to the T's when you're filling out the application. We also got approved on EIDL, so you can do both. But I don't know a lot of Asian businesses. In fact, I was asked by Las Vegas if I know anybody that got approved on PPP. You know, this is where you really need your banker to be on your side. So if you're having a problem like now, I would go to your banker and make your banker best friend right now, because they're the one that can give you access on PPP.
Yeah, and then basically for the PPP, people cannot use, when you apply for both, you cannot use one loan to pay for the other, for example. So the PPP is strictly for payroll, 75% of it for payroll, and for rent and utilities and lease payments and some other interest. So if you apply for both, if you get both, then don't use that 10,000 for the same purpose. You can use it for some other fixed expense that you would have to pay otherwise.
And Derrick, just to clarify a couple of things here, the unemployment insurance funding has not run out, to the best of my knowledge, unless it's happened in the last couple of hours. So that is still available. We have to be very clear here that the loans through the SBA and unemployment insurance are two very different programs. And while theoretically you can take advantage of both, if you do, in other words, you go and get a loan under the Paycheck Protection Plan and do not maintain your employee base, that loan will not be forgivable in all likelihood. It will turn into a 2-year loan with a 1% interest rate. Also keep in mind that unemployment insurance isn't an election for a company, it's an election for an individual who has been laid off or furloughed or fired. So again, I can't emphasize enough that it's really important for your businesses to talk to their tax and legal advisors to get the right information as to what's best for how they should proceed.
Speaking of which, I have this question probably for the legal and the tax specialists on our panel. The question is, I am a W-2 worker since January 1st, 2020, the beginning of this year. I filed EDD, but cannot get any benefits because I did not work in 2019. What am I going to do?
So yes, you don't have enough funds for the unemployment, but you still get when you then you're not eligible for it. See if you can have. And I don't know if you're not eligible for it. I don't know if you are eligible for the federal portion of it too. Mike, do you know anything about that one? But you can still get stimulus funds, stimulus payments on the other hand.
Right, I think so. With this question, what happened is at beginning January 1st of this year, at least here in the state of California, with the passage of AB 5, a lot of salons switched their manicures from 1099 independent over to W-2 to be in compliance. Now, those workers who've switched over, they didn't pay into the system. So that's where the challenge is. Do they qualify for the federal unemployment portion of it? You would still apply. They're going to have to submit the challenge. They're not going to have a 1099 form yet. They've only had the W-2, but they can still self-certify and try that approach. So still apply and see if you can't get those federal unemployment benefits. Congressman Rouda, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Mike, I think you're spot on because the federal benefits are available based on if you're not a W-2 employee or a 1099 employee and you were or a 1099 employee, you can look at your 2019 compensation. And if you have had your compensation reduced because of you've been laid off or furloughed, the federal program is there to support you. Now, as Senator Umberg pointed out, while the states are rapidly trying to get up and process these unemployment insurance claims, and historically have only dealt with salaried employees and hourly workers, and then now are dealing with independent contractors and commission-based 1099 individuals. They're now just getting up to speed in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to take a little bit longer process to get folks in that category, the relief they need. But I know the states are working very hard to make that happen.
Thank you.
All right, I have a series of questions for the public officials. I think the first part would be for Senator Tom Umberg. How much in unemployment do I get and how long can I get unemployment for? And the second part is for Congressman Rouda. What do you do if you got denied for unemployment insurance from EDD from your state? Does this mean you got rejected for federal unemployment insurance? Senator Umberg, please.
So in terms of the length of unemployment, it's 26 weeks, although that may well be expanded beyond 26 weeks. In terms of the amount is a function of what you were previously paid. So it's a percentage of what you're previously paid. And I do not recall the maximum. Maybe either Hang or Mike Vo may recall the maximum amount that you can receive. If you're particularly concerned and you have further questions, you should give our office a call. And I expect that Congressman Rouda's office is probably both accepting and getting calls on this. Our number is 714-558-3785. Mike, do you remember the maximum amount?
So the weekly, for California, the weekly maximum is $450. And then they would potentially qualify for an additional $600 under the federal unemployment.
Yeah.
I see Hang shaking her head yes.
No,
so
no, yes.
That's a double affirmation then.
Yes.
Congressman Rouda?
Yeah, Derrick, thanks for that question. That's actually one of the things we're working on right now because we have already heard of individuals who have applied and have been turned down. And as I think Mike was talking about earlier, and Hang, I think you raised it as well, where an individual who was not employed last year is running into problems because they weren't a W-2 employee. We're working with the federal government right now, the administration, to try and get clarity here, because what we want to have happen is if someone is denied, that there is a streamlined process for them to reapply and get the federal benefits that are outlined under the CARES Act. Unfortunately, though, because we've had 22 million Americans, 1 in 10 Americans file for unemployment in literally the last 3 weeks, the states are overwhelmed right now in processing these applications, and people are getting denied that should not be denied. So our office is going to continue to try and cut through those difficulties to make sure everyone can get the benefits they deserve under the CARES Act.
Speaking of federal obligations, Hang, we have not missed our tax filing date, right? What do we need to know about the tax filing deadlines?
Yeah. For individual income tax return, your 1040 form is extended to July 15, 2020 without having to do anything. It's also for the payment that's due on that date. But if you have required estimated payment for 2019, those should have already been paid. If not, then the interest and penalties are not waived. Only the amount that is due on April 15 would be extended to July 15, 2020 without penalty and interest. And if you still don't have enough time to prepare your tax return, you can also file the extension, which is due on October 15, 2020. But that's for the federal level, IRS. For the state, it's automatically extended to July 15 with filing and the payment. Estimated payment for both is first payment was extended to July 15, 2020. The second installment for the IRS, amazing enough, is still due on June 15 per the IRS website. So I don't know if they're going to change it later, but that's how it is. But on the state level, thank you, they extended the second estimated payment to July 15 as well. That's for the individual income tax level. And then for payroll, for people who, I know that a lot of nail salon has been switching over from independent contractor to employees. You can defer your payroll. There's a payroll tax deferral program where you can defer the employer share portion of the Social Security tax that for the period between March 27 to the end of the year, and you have to pay 50% of it in 2020, the end of 2021, and the rest in 2022. So that would be the for the payroll taxes portions of it, employment portion of it. And if you are a self-employment tax too, you can also defer your self-employment tax portion as long as you pay 50% by 2020 tax return due date, which is next year, and then pay 25% by the end of 2021, another 25% on 2022. Later on, Mike will post all of this information on the website, so you can have something to reference to. Yes, and then and of course for payroll, also for California too, then you the governor does have the 60 days deferral to pay, file and pay your first quarter tax.
Thank you.
So I think that's the two that maybe most of the people, most of nail salons right now is concerning. And if you have corporations or S corporations, we'll have those posted too on the website later.
All right, good, thanks. This one question is very interesting, and it's from Ed Hart, who's the chair of the Family Business Center at Cal State Fullerton. And this is directed to Mike Vo. how can someone like me, who is not in the nails and salon industry, help most in this crisis?
Oh.
I guess that there's many ways to answer that. In terms of the health aspect, obviously follow the government's orders on social distancing, stay at home. But in terms of what other ways can you contribute to our community? Once this is all done, and the stay home orders are lifted, I guess be a part of the community. Go out, spend, help, get your nails done. Right, we all need our nails and hair done. Right, so along with Faith, I'm gonna be at the salon doing that. So hopefully, the information that we've shared today is valuable for all folks, whether you're a salon owner or a manicurist or in any other industry. A lot of this information is universal, applicable to folks, a lot of the folks in California, but also nationwide.
All right, we have a lot of questions still, but the time is running out. So I would like to give the last few minutes for our panelists to say whatever they need to say to the audience. I'd like to start first with Congressman Harley Rouda.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Derrick, and the panelists here for joining us and providing this really important information. I've had the opportunity to work with Senator Umberg throughout this entire process, and he's on daily calls that we were having with the county and is always asking difficult questions and trying to get answers, because communication is so important as we navigate through this crisis together. Look, we're going through really trying times, and I come from the business world. I have built and managed businesses from startup up to 10,000 employees. I have navigated the financial challenges of 2008, the Great Recession. And these are challenging times. If we work together, if we support each other, we will get through to the other side and not just survive, but thrive again. And as we go through this, let's not lose sight of what's happening, not just in the economic slowdown, but the fact that over 30,000 of our fellow Americans have lost their lives so far in this pandemic. Just a few weeks ago, most, if not all of them, were leading ordinary lives like all of us, only to contract this virus and quickly see their health diminish to the point that they unfortunately passed away. Most of them passing away without their loved ones, their family members and friends at their side. Equally, those family members and loved ones and friends weren't there to comfort the ones they have lost. So as we fight through the economic challenges here, let's not forget the human challenges as well, and make sure that we lift everyone up best we can, both from our heart and from our minds. So thank you for allowing me to be on, and I'm going to drop off because I have to get on another Zoom call. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your touching words. Senator Umberg.
Well, thank you, Derrick, Mike, Faith, Hang. This is a time of some sacrifice. This is a time where we need to reach out and thank all those who have stepped up. But this is also a time of reflection. And one of the things on a personal note that I have noticed over the last several years is that this is a time especially to think about sacrifices that have been made in the past. And I know the Vietnamese American community, there is not a family in the Vietnamese American community here in California that doesn't have a story of sacrifice, a story of courage, a story of valor. And so when we have a little time to reflect, I would encourage all those families to write down or record basically the history of that sacrifice, the history of that courage, to preserve it for children and grandchildren. It's going to be so important 10, 20, 30 years from now that the people we care about, again, our children, our grandchildren, know those stories of valor and courage. And lastly, thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for your words of wisdom. I'd like to turn to Ms. Faith Bautista.
Yeah, so be informed. Listen to good news. Look at the website of sba.gov. Look at the website of Consumer Financial Protection Bureau agency. Go to your trusted pastors, pray, exercise, be healthy. I mean, we're all immigrants here. We know where we came from. We've gone from worse to better, and we will get better again. We know that. Thank you.
Thank you for your tireless efforts in helping the Asian American community. Chang, Harper?
I think I'd like to touch a little bit on stimulus payments, but since we missed it a little bit. So many of people I know got the check or get a payment direct deposit yesterday. So congratulations. For the question would be like, do I have to pay this stimulus check back? No, you don't have to. It is not going to be included in your income in 2020. And you can, based on income level, individual is 75,000 or lower, 75,000 or lower, get the full amount. Head of household, the adjusted gross income is 112,500 and below to get the full amount, and married filing jointly is 150,000. The married couple get 2,400 plus the 500 for each qualified kids, which are under the age of 17. It maxed out at 5%. That maxed out. So basically, the 75,000 would max out at 99,000. The heads of household would max out at 136,500, and the married filing jointly would max out at 198,000. And people would ask me, the students between the student dependents won't get it. How come? Well, you know, because that's the law, so maybe they could change it later. I don't know, but as of right now, as long as they are dependent on their parent tax return, they don't get the 1,200. If they want to get it to do a 1,200 and they do work, they can file their own tax return, not be dependent on their parent tax return, then they will get a 1,200. And is it the same as federal unemployment? This is not. It's two separate things. And for people who do not require to file tax, check with the IRS website. You can fill out the information, your bank information, and the IRS will send you, will directly deposit the money into your account. And I like to have a shout out thank you to all the nail salon of helping the first responders by donating all of the goodies, all the personal protection equipment. Thank you so much. Keep up your good work. And thanks a lot for the thanks all the first responder as well for their care, and not only them but their family as well. Get a shout out to our first responder. They like combat soldiers, but still have to go home and do all the stuff. I love to see the community coming together, helping everybody out, and just stay home and be safe. And thank you the county, all the people at the county level, the city level, and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your expertise and your work in the community. And last but not least, Mike Vo.
Great, thank you, Derrick, for a great job moderating today's town hall, and to all of our panelists. What you should be seeing now on your screens for those viewing at home is a slide of all of our partners for today's town hall. I appreciate and thank all of them for helping putting this together. I know that my board colleagues, Nguyen, Nicola, and Dominic Do were very instrumental in putting this together. And now what you should be seeing on your screen is a slide of the various resources, agencies, and nonprofits that you can contact. For sake of brevity, what we did was we just included the website. If you go to those various websites, there are other fact sheets, there's information. Some of these organizations offer assistance in both Vietnamese and English. Okay, so all this information will be on the Pro Nail Association website. You don't have to write notes really fast. We'll have it on there. Today's town hall is recorded and will also be rebroadcast on the various social media channels. And keep an eye out. We do anticipate putting on a second town hall. Like I said, what is salon like post-COVID-19, and we're going to be working to get the State Board of Cosmetology on with us to answer some questions that are going to be applicable to the entire industry. And with that said, everyone stay safe. Thank you very much for watching today, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Mike, for doing this. We had planned to limit this town hall to 1 hour, but we about 10 minutes over, just because we have so many interesting topics and very, very relevant, important information to share. So Mike, please do host a second session so that we can all share our thoughts in this matter. So again, to echo Mike, I would like to thank all the panelists, as well as the viewers and our event sponsors and participants. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
That was
Thank you, Mike.
excellent.